Okay, I guess as you guys say, it's buffering. So let me just give you a few seconds. Anyways, so let me pull from master and then we'll see. Cool. So we overrode all those changes. Unfortunately, we still have these two stupid um, stuff, but it's fine. Okay, so what do we notice here? We made one commit here. Actually, it's excellent for what I wanted to demonstrate. So we made our initial commit, and then we branch off here for our branch normal branch, right? Then we created one more commit on normal, on master, and then we created another commit on master. Then we added two commits here before we merged back into master. Now, before merging into master, there were some changes here that we needed to incorporate back into our branch before working. So you'll notice that here we have a merge master into a normal branch, and then you see that here. And then we now push everything into master. So we had to pull in the changes from master first, creating another commit, and then we pushed the changes back into master, which was another commit. Okay, so let's do something here and call this clean slate. I'm gonna call this clean slate so that we're just gonna use that to start, and then we're gonna push just so we have something after that we're gonna bunch and work with. Cool. So now we have this, and then we are working off of clean slate. So clean slate is our new head. Okay. So if you look at this here, you notice there are two problems. It's very difficult to understand what happened here. There's an extraneous merge commit here, something we could get rid of. So let's look at the first way we can get rid of this merge commit. Now let's branch again. This time we're going to go with feature branches. So we're going to call this feature rebase demo. Oh, what the hell? Jesus Christ, man. Cool. So we have that. Now we have two branches. Let's push this just so we have something on the upstream. Yeah, don't ask me why I'm lazy like that. Okay. Now let's go back to master and then make a change here. So we're going to call this some changes to master, right? So the idea is you've created your branch, which is what we are calling rebase, our feature slash rebase branch. You've created that, and then you're working. So in this time you're working. Now someone has made some changes and has committed to master, which means that you do not have the same history that master has right now, which means you could have some conflict. So let's commit this and call this changes to master, and then we're going to push this to master. She is insane. Okay. So this is our rebase here branch. It's still a clean slate, and then we have some changes to master. So let's add some changes here. No, we won't demonstrate. We won't demonstrate a conflict yet. Let's create a new file and then call this rebase feature.mb. This is our rebase branch. and then let's commit that base one, and then we're gonna push. Okay, awesome. So now we notice that our branch has diverged from master, so we're moving on a different branch. Now, what we are going to look at here is how to incorporate the changes that have come from master, right? So we've made some changes to our rebase feature. And then we need to, first of all, incorporate master into it before we continue with any work. Before we continue with any work. So we have this and that, and this master, and then we are still moving because that's our main branch. But if I were to move on, so what we can do is we can do what we call a pool with a rebase. Now, what does a pool with a rebase do? Essentially, what you do is you have this as your current base, which means that that's where you branched off of. Let's see if that makes any sense. So you branched off of master at some point here. Let me change master. Oh, the heck was this? Okay, there we go. Okay, so we branched off of master at some point somewhere here. Master has different changes, but we want those changes in our feature slash rebase, right? Rebase feature. So what we can do is we can pull with a rebase. What would happen is Git is going to, now the problem with rebases is you are dynamically rewriting your history, right? So you don't want to do rebases on branches that are public that people have seen or people have pulled. So if you're collaborating with someone on a branch, and you guys are working together on said branch, you do not want to rebase that branch, especially on the remote. Because what would happen is then when they try to work, they would have a conflict and it will be very difficult to work out because the histories differ. Now, when you do a pull with a rebase, what would happen is Git will pull this change here from master, and then it's going to take every change you made since clean slate and then rewrite those changes on top of that new commit, which is changes to master. So let's see if we can demonstrate that. Okay, so git pull. Is that correct? I think so. Ooh. Good. So what do we notice here? It says that it's pulling from, did I run this correctly? Branch of rebase. Let me see my log first. Yes, it did. So what you see Git say is it's rewinding your head to replay your work on top of it. So what it did was it rewound everything you did down to the beginning, and then it rebased. It rewrote all your changes on top of that. So now you have more of actually a straight line. Let me push this before we continue, and then it will be clearer to you because this branch here is causing some issues. Okay, good. So now you notice what happened here. Our current rebase follows the same history as master. So we had clean slate, we have changes to master, we have our rebase change 1 and our rebase change 2. So essentially what happened was it took the last change in master, brought it and made it your starting point, that is your head, and then it rewrote all your commits on top of that. This actually rewrites your history. So if you were to push it, it's going to be a problem. That's why I had to use a git push force to override the changes that were on the remote. Otherwise, that wouldn't have worked. But if you look at something like this, then you notice that we now have a very clean history. So it goes straight and it doesn't have the same branching issue that we have at from initial commit to merge normal branch into master. Now, if you want to still keep track of commits, that's fine. You could still have your branches and then you would have only one commit into master, which is great. It doesn't really have a problem because it's nice like that. Like you're able to track where you merged in features. Now, the other thing is if you have a feature, one of the things is you should keep your features small. The feature should be very small. The changes shouldn't be much. So when you are submitting a pull request or a merge request, what you want to do is you want to make your changes easy for people to follow. So let's go back into our project and then create a new merge request and see what I'm talking about. So let's create a new merge request. And then there's our rebase demo. And this is a squash. So I could use GitLab to create a squash. But instead of doing that, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do the squashing myself, just so I explain what happened. So fortunately, there are 2 commits here, but luckily the changes are all in one file, so it's actually easy to tell. Now, what we say is we don't care about the commits that got you to your end state. What we care about in the repository is your end state. So before you raise a PR, one good thing to do is do what we call a rebase, right? An interactive rebase. The way I do it generally is I would do git rebase -i, which means interactive. And I do it this way mainly because I just want to be able to tell how many commits. I know how many commits are in my branch. I think there's about 1, 2, and 3. So let me do 3. And what you notice is you'd see the commits. So changes to master, rebase 1, rebase 2. Now, these are the ones we care about. We care about rebase 1 and rebase 2. But the truth is, rebase 1 and rebase 2 are all just going into the branch rebase. So we don't really want to do anything with that. What we're going to do is we're going to fix this up into this so that now on our branch, we have only one commit. So all our changes would come together into one commit, and someone reviewing it would be able to look at all the changes at once without worrying. If you look, there are different options you can use. You can do a pick. So by default, all of them are picked. Most of the common ones you're going to use are pick. Sorry. You're going to use pick, fix up, maybe squash, but most likely you're going to use fix up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to tell Git to fix this up into the previous one. So there, we're done. And then we have this. Let's push this again and then see what happened. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, sorry. So now what you notice here is we have only one commit in our rebase, which means that if someone wanted to review, all they will have is one commit. And at this point, if you were to merge this into master, then you are just going to have one branch, one commit coming